Ambassador, North Korea has fired another missile, and the last time we spoke, you told me this was going to happen. And I think looking at this taking place and looking at what people's reactions are to this, it seems to have become kind of commonplace to people. And there's a big concern, isn't there, about people getting complacent with this? Isn't that the truth?
No, I totally agree with that, JJ. I think because North Korea, certainly in this year, they've launched over 44 missiles. And given the 30 years of negotiations, I think people have become fatigued hearing about North Korea and the launching of their various missiles. And I think that could be very dangerous. I think we could become very complacent. And indeed, what they launched yesterday was an intermediate range ballistic missile that could reach Guam. I mean, flew over Japan. It's a very significant escalation. So yeah, I think we should not be complacent with North Korea and their missile and nuclear capabilities.
So how do we keep people engaged on this? And how do we keep people from zoning out and saying, oh, this is just another North Korean stunt?
Yeah, I think that's a key question, JJ. Hopefully North Korea doesn't do anything stupid, like not only escalating with missile launches and possibly a 7th nuclear test, but we're doing something provocative like they did in 2010 with the Jongun when they took down a South Korean frigate with 47 sailors dying, or the KAL aircraft in 1988 with 115 passengers being killed. They don't do anything stupid. Hopefully they will not. But I think the concern now is that accidental conflict is always there. North Korea has a new nuclear policy, and that's the first use and a preemptive use of a nuclear weapon, something they've never had. Their last policy was in 2013, and their nuclear policy then was, it was a deterrent. Their nuclear weapons for deterrence purposes. Now it's for first use and preemptive use. That means they have to have good intelligence if they feel something is imminent, if there's an imminent threat or they perceive an imminent threat. That means anyone who's in that position with nuclear weapons with such a policy would have to have exquisite intelligence, knowing that indeed it is a threat and it's not a mistake. So my concern is, given I think North Korea's questionable, very questionable, if you will, intelligence capabilities, could they do something stupid? Could they do something of a preemptive nature, thinking that it was imminent? And that would generate a very significant response, overwhelming response. And that's when we could talk about accidental war and conflict, possibly with the use of nuclear weapons.
Well, is there a fail-safe in case North Korea did do something like this? The U.S. is very good at maintaining back channels with North Korea and many other countries. Is there a fail-safe to prevent that from happening? You were the special envoy for the 6-party talks to North Korea, and you're the former director of the National Counterproliferation Center. Is there a way to avert something like that?
In the past, indeed, there was a way, because we had negotiations with North Korea. We were dialoguing with them. We had negotiations with Pyongyang, straight with Pyongyang. We had the New York Channel, their embassy at the United Nations in New York. So I would think now we do, in the sense of we could always reach out to their embassy at the United Nations in New York. But that's not the same as reaching out to Pyongyang. That's not the same as reaching out to the leadership elements in Pyongyang that are close to Kim Jongun, who's making that final decision. So I don't know the answer to your question. I don't know that we have that reach into Pyongyang the way we did in the past.
Well, this is a very disturbing development then, because I have to admit that I too, and I've been talking to you about this for years, and you've said on numerous occasions that North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, is not suicidal, that he would not be, as you said earlier, stupid enough to launch a nuclear weapon against the US or anyone else for that matter, but there's this idea of an accident that is very, very plausible. And given the questionable nature of North Korea's intelligence, that seems very, very possible, especially considering today things are so complicated. Things happen so fast, and there are so many different sources of information. And speed seems to be the key. So if North Korea did something like that, can the US defend itself?
Well, I think the US can defend itself, and I think we certainly can defend our allies in South Korea and in Japan. We have the missile defense capabilities in South Korea with the THAAD system deployed. And looking at a second system, we have the Patriot. We have other capabilities with Japan. So I think we do have a relatively robust missile defense capability in Korea and in Japan, and to include with our aircraft carriers and naval fleets that would be going into the region. They have capability. So I think we have a good missile defense capabilities. Are they 100%? No one could say anything is 100% these days, right? But the fact is, I think your key question was ensuring that there's nothing of a precipitous nature. North Korea doesn't do something that is very threatening, or not only deploying, but actually launching something that would be viewed by South Korea, the United States, Japan, as a threat, an imminent threat, and we would have to respond, we would take it down. And would they think that this is escalation and that we would be going into Pyongyang from that? That's why there needs to be a dialogue. There needs to be communications. So yes, having a fail-safe system would be a red line to Pyongyang, as the United States has with the People's Republic of China. Indeed, we have that with China. We could go through China to get to Pyongyang, but time is of the essence. So you need something similar to what we have with the People's Republic of China, and indeed with nuclear weapons. And now we're talking about a policy of preemptive use. If there's a viewed or perception of an imminent threat, I think time is of the essence, as your question indicated. And I think that's where we do need to resume a dialogue with North Korea, and indeed to put something like this in place so that we don't have accidental conflict.
So the last thing I'll ask you then is, Kim Jong-un, how do you reach him? How do you get through to him the seriousness of this situation? Who does that breakthrough, and what kind of, how do you set the table to do something like that?
Well, I think Kim Jong-un monitors very closely what's coming out of the White House, what's coming out of Washington, D.C., the United States. I think their most direct form of, if you will, information and guidance, if that's the right word, would be from the People's Republic of China, from Beijing, where Beijing, they have their embassy there, and they have very close relations with their ally in North Korea. So I think China is also, I would assume, and I'm confident they're doing that, sensitize them to these issues that we're talking about today, JJ.
Well, Ambassador Detrani, thank you. There's never enough time to talk about this, but every time we speak, you add some clarity to this situation, and a voice of reason and a voice of calm. And you're a person that I think folks should listen to. This is a situation that we need to take very seriously, and every day, not just one day, not just 2 days, not every other day, something like that. Thank you for taking time to share again.
Thank you, JJ.